Hi, this is Lynn Schnebley with Educating with Wisdom, and I'm the ambassador for Heaven's creating and protecting goddesses and archangels over life. Merry Christmas. And again, I need to clarify why I call myself that. It's what was given to me, but also because part of the reason why we dropped the positiveness of the goddess is because there were so many negative aspects of the goddess, and they got rid of the positive aspects of the goddess that were competing with the others. Also, it's because it says that Hava has to be reinstated, and this is in Isaiah 62, as well as in Micah. It happens then as well as in Micah 4 and 5. So this is not coming out of anywhere. This is Hava, and this is the Nakabit, the Hava, the Chaba. Anyway, let's come in and take a look at what should probably concern the Francophone clergy and a lot of Hispanic people. And that was when I got the handoff, which was really unnerving. I mean, first of all, it's very difficult for me to do any of this with any of you, but it's only because God doesn't give me much of a choice, and because things are so very dire. So I figure, given that people are sort of acting like cartoons in many places, then I'm just going to give me what God gave me. I mean, I can't do anything else. When St. Paul came and helped me out of a terrible situation, I'm just going to be honest about what God gave me. So let's come out of this, come out of me. And we're going to look at a video that everybody that monitors me, including Comey, saw. Oh, by the way, let's come back here. I want to talk about the Sagittarius for a moment, because I never really thought about it in the same way. But when I found out that both Stalin, Winston Churchill, and one other, King George, were all in power during World War II, I thought, well, gee, that's really kind of weird, you know. And then when I found out there were 7 of them that were all working for one side, Stalin, Winston Churchill, Charles de Gaulle, King George, Mackenzie, the other one for Australia, and then there was one more. Did I say Franco? Charles Franco. I mean, all 7 were Sagittarians. That is very weird. And some of them were considered to be the best statespeople that they ever had on the British and in the UK side. That's very weird. Barack Obama got that information from me in 2011 and in 2012. And so as soon as he was reelected in 2013, he took certain people out of their positions and put Sagittarians in there, because he knew that only a Sagittarian could hold a Leo accountable. So Comey was put in and he was locked up. But then Comey was monitoring. Very interesting. What happened then is that Pope Francis was put in 2013 and locked up. I was put in. So a lot of Sagittarians Carrie was put in and locked up. And so what he did is that he took Sagittarians out and he tied our hands up so that we couldn't do anything. Well, when I went in after finding out about the Lost Book of Nostradamus and certain things of what were happening, I'm just going to go in. I was in church. This was at St. Vincent Ferrara. And they were talking about it being the year of the Fatima coming up. It had been the year of forgiveness and indulgences and all kinds of things like that. And now it was the year of Fatima coming up for the 100-year anniversary of Fatima. And I thought, well, I really don't know anything about Fatima. My birthday's December the 12th. God's been calling me all this time about the Union of North America. Why am I talking about the Portuguese? And this is really important for the world to understand about the Portuguese. The Catholic Church, the Vatican, made a deal just to deal with the Portuguese, and allowed slavery to flourish and gave the Portuguese all these rights. But it was really supposed to stop originally during the 1400s. It was supposed to stop in their bulls in Africa. But then when the Spanish took off and started going across, they opened up the deal more for Portugal. And Portugal was, of course, the one that poured all this slavery over. And the Vatican made vast amounts of money on this whole deal. So when we talk about slavery and things like that, we're really talking about, you know, the Vatican and the Portuguese, and we're talking about nationalism. In the same way that the Orthodox Church rubber stamped, pardon me, the slave trade going on in Africa heading east, and it was the Orthodox priests that were castrating and doing all kinds of nasty things to boys and men for the Muslim slave trade out of Africa, you know. And so there's a lot of dirt. No, beyond dirt. It's beyond dirt. It's beyond dirt. So anyway, to make a long story short, I know that there's a problem here, and I'm trying to figure out why we are celebrating this and why everything is about Fatima when, you know, Russia isn't even communist anymore. So this was before I knew that they had St. George slaying the dragon and had taken it on November the 30th, which is Winston Churchill's birthday, that was now on their coat of arms, which is, you know, too much. Not to mention that they have the Hurrian golden eagles. This is just too much, okay, for the Tree of Life, overseeing the Tree of Life. So let's come out of me, and I'm going to show you what concerned me so that you understand this. Before we do this kind of miraculous video, do you see this picture here? Well, this is actually the new pope or the new person in charge of the church. How do you do? Is a woman, and you see the little lions are down here. These are the Calamites. There are no black stars you're going to see here. This is the year of the rooster. This is, there's the papacy over the emblem. Let's take a look at this. Holding an emblem, and that is the Madonna. This is actually the Portuguese, because the rooster is also for the Portuguese. And it's extremely pompous. It's as though this is going to bring you your life. I'm going to timestamp some of this so that you understand this again. This is also in the Lost Book of Nostradamus. This is the summiting of the Matterhorn, which happened under Cancer. When you see the little moon, it means it's under Cancer. And that's the summiting, and that happened in July, I believe, summiting. And then we have the smoking head, the smoking skull of Van Gogh. And this also links into the summiting of Devil's Tower in the United States. And that also happened about 20 years later, also in Cancer. That was July the 4th. So every time you see this, you know it's happening in Cancer. And that is a good place. Let's put us on pause for just a moment now. You're going to see quite a few cedar. This is both for Lebanon, but it's for Artemis of Ephesus, and it's for Artemis. This is the calamite. The calamite became Israel's national flower on November the 25th, the beginning of Sagittarius 2013. And that person is actually holding it out and is over the church. We'll be working with the church. This is going to be important as well. Everything in these pectorals are important. This stands for the Cancer sign, but this particular person is the Sagittarian, has the full moon. Remember, the moon is most important between the fall and spring equinox. So they've always had it backwards. And this particular emblem here, this is what Trump and the administration and everyone saw last January the 25th. I always thought it was the yin yang. This is the second half of the year. But let's take a look at what that sign is going to look like. Okay? I thought it was almost a 69 for Cancer, but we're going to be seeing something very different, and it's what the real sign for Z is. Let me come out of this now, and I'm sorry, it looks like I'm digressing. Come out of... Let's come in 2016. I moved it into my C gate here, 2019, December 29th. 2019. That's right. Let me open this up now. And this is what Mr. Comey saw. And he also saw me go to the Republicans on October the 27th, 2016, and came up with a statement the next day. Notice it happened in October. Let me check this again. You're going to see it says December the 12th, 2016. Now, how can it be dated for December the 12th, 2016? I figured it was an SOS from the Pope or God. Couldn't figure it out. But I knew that whatever they wanted to give to Fatima was now me. So it was actually created on the 17th of October, 2016. There we go. But this is like a miracle, because when I called the people for the agency trying to figure out what happened, because it's like my birth date is popping up, and it's also for Fatima. Here we go. Again. Oh, here we go. Even though I taped it on the 17th of October, almost 2 months before this is the date that comes up. Now let's see what else is happening here. Again, G4S or whoever is monitoring me did not want me to take this at all. Closed it off of my computer, I think. I ended up taping it on my phone. There we go, October the 17th, 2016. Here we go. Fatima. December 12th, 2016. When did he actually write it? Let's go down to, they actually wrote it. On October the 12th, 2016. All right, that's one. And then there will be a second one here. Oops. I mean, I was dumbfounded, and I thought, oh, well, somebody has just handed me this case, and now I have to go do something about it. So that's when I began to work internationally. Before this period of time, I had contacted the Germans, but I was never so bold as to contact some of the other people I would be contacting. You know, I know what I have to do on this day, but it's interesting. Fatima on demand, that's because she doesn't have the answers. She's not giving out the answers. They're just giving out Hail Marys. Anyway, Bishop Conley versus Bishop Conley. And it says that it's written on this day, Christopher A. Vieira, December 12th. And then when you click on it, by the way, G4S wouldn't let me open it up on my computer, because as soon as I saw this on my cell phone, they didn't want me to get a picture of it. Only after I made another picture elsewhere, but they let me open this up on my computer. See, now it's October 12th. Let's go back. Okay. Alrighty. So this is not a normal thing to happen, and that's one of the motivators that sent me off here. Let's come out of me for a moment. I should point out that what is very prevalent in terms of the pictures in the Lost Book of Nostradamus is that the scrolls, all the writings, and all the paradigms are being overturned. By the way, this is when my case, they went on the attack. Jupiter is in Taurus, and then Jupiter goes through to Libra. Notice that is the blind god. It's happening with Cancer. So let's move on here for just a moment. And again, you're going to see a lot of this when you go through the pictorials of the everything you thought you understood, you didn't. So let's go in and take a look at this, which is where we found it. Let's come, oh, I can come right to here. Paleolexicon. If the Phoenicians had actually been involved in developing the alphabet, which is Semitic, then you would expect to see the Aleph, the A, in it. Well, this is where we actually find the A being developed here. But this is where that Z is. That's the Z sign. Zion, what they're interested in Zion and what is actually the truth is coming from here. Notice there's an Aleph that's here. All right. And I'm going to give you a heads up clue as to where the problem is occurring from. Let me make it a little. Who did the translation that threw everything off? There's the Zion. There's the Aleph. And notice the alphabet, when you see it on top, that's the view from the alphabet. Does not look quite like our alphabet. Look at, that's a delta, but that's for an L. I want us to take a look at this right here. Here's the S. It almost looks a little bit like a small scale S for the omega, and this is also an S. But let's look at this. All right, here's the S. Now we're going to see this. It gets scary. And it's going to throw everything off in terms of the alphabet. And who actually translated incorrectly, and they consider him a dragon person. Armo is a moon god like Armenian. Armon, dragon man, interpreter. This is where we're looking at the Armenians. They were the sort of interlopers. And they went in and reworked a lot of, I guess, a lot of the myths for the dragon for the Thracians, and stole the identity of the Hurrians and the Carians, giving some of it to the Phoenicians, because the Phoenicians is an amalgamation of the sea people, which had a lot of the dragon Thracians in there. The Moesians, Dacians, Iberians, Avros, the goat people, the goat men, he-goats. So let's come out of this for a moment, because it's, I'll just show you Aleph. This is where the real Aleph comes from. Here we go. Here's A itself. And here's the real Aleph, which means to tongue, to speak. If the Semites had been involved in that. They did not make Aleph into an ox. You're going to see the word for tongue to speak, which makes perfect sense to make that an A. That word tongue to speak is Amar. And so it would make perfect sense to call their A an Amar. But they don't, because the translated alphabet is coming from this Hattian-Carian combination, or Hattian-Hurrian combination. It's not Semitic. Just like Horu is not Horus, the way the Greeks and the Romans put it. It's Hor for the Hori, or the Horu is plural for the Horian. Very different. And so we're looking at the Horian and the impact of the Horis as going from Anatolia, bringing agriculture and music and the arts and all these things. Nothing is Greek, and nothing is African Nubian. Everything is being developed from the Horians. They're far more important, and they're far older than anybody. It's incredible. Okay, and that's where Haba comes in. So let's come out of me for a moment. So here is Aleph. Now let's go in and go back into languages. Let's just take a look at the Hurrian translations are all over the place here, and they're not correct in many areas. But you will see Sila, which is found in the Bible here, for sister. And also it's found in Genesis 49 when Sila comes in. Let's see if we find it here. Sar is not really wish. Clean, pure, Sila. Oh, here we go. Means daughter. Excuse me, means daughter. And it does actually mean daughter. Here's Salmi, ashes. This is interesting. So Sala, which is going to become Sheila, is actually what they're looking for. And it's not a man. So let's come out of here and just take a look at, for a moment, because this is new. They've just added this, and if you go through and look at the resources, it's very much the same as these resources down here. Oh, I know what I'm going to show you before I go into the Amorites. They knew that I found that this was Avros was for the Jews. So let's come in and look at the Hurrian again. Let's go in and see the E. Now they have Avri, and the Jews are going to claim this means Lord. No, it doesn't, because in the Bible it makes it clear that they're actually the he-goats. And here we go. Abros is Avros. This is actually the Hebrew, and it's he-goats. So they are, it's not good in the Bible. Let me come back out of this. Let's come Proto-Semitic. This is going to be shocking, and you will see that there is absolutely no A in it. None. At all. And A, B, C, D, E, F, there's no F. There are different G's. There's no V, there is a W. Now remember that kind of theta sound? And this is what's so very important. In Revelations where it says, I'm the Alpha and the Omega, this is actually the God over the dead. This is not Jesus. And he has this dyed mouth with swords coming two out at a time, and he's over Hades. So it isn't Jesus. So let's go in and take a look. There's no O. And this is what Nostradamus and what the Bible is telling us, that it's a forked tongue for these people, and that they have no alpha and they have no real omega. Now remember, this was an S, what we saw in the Carian, which is a later version of the Hurrian. This was the alphabet that they had developed. And this was an S. Let's go through and see what their A is. This is not A. They do not have Bet. That's Bar. It is really not Bar. It really is like Creator Son. Ben, Son. You don't need all these sons here. One is Creator Son. Here we go. And I. We, and it's actually an A sound because here we have Anish or Anish. Notice there's no translation, no transliteration, unlike the Carian, which has all the information there, including the symbols. But it's going to get really interesting here in a moment. All, and that is all, so it's an A sound. Now, why would they have to put, notice the little doojiggy here. Why would they have to, and I've seen this before, there is actually no A here. So they're not showing you what the symbol sequence would look like. And what the symbol sequence is going to look like, oh, here's Adam, which is skin. There wouldn't be no A there. So it would have been, they're not showing you what the symbols look like. Notice they are not showing you what the symbols are looking like. They are showing you this and this and this and this and this, but they're not showing you what the symbols look like. All right? So therefore, the Phoenicians did not come up with the alphabet any more than Apollo came up with music. It's all Hurrian. Yeah. And Carian, it's not them. Yeah. So let's come now and take a look at this. Because this, they're claiming like olam, blackness, darkness. All right. How do we, what sound is this? It's not a theta. Olam is blackness and darkness. This is supposed to be the future. What is or? And then all of a sudden I broke the code when I saw this, and I thought, wait a minute. This is an S, just like the Carian. Except the Carian bothers to give you the actual emblems of how it's done, and these transcriptions, these transliterations. A lot of these other languages, they're not giving you anything. These people actually stole everything from the Carians and then turned it around and upside down. So here is everything. But it doesn't, they did not move the transcription over correctly, and they did it to break the Hattians, the Carians, and everybody that was using this alphabet. And they did it deliberately. So there's their S, and now all of a sudden when I come back here to the Semites, guess what? It's going to be dastardly. This is now Siha, which is the Phoenician god of the morning sun that they said was Venus coming up, but it isn't. It's the blackness of the morning. This is Sha'al, which is Shal. This is Shalom, or yes, it's not peace, it's Shalom, which is blackness. Oh no, it's Shalom, which Solomon, when I said, which is a version of that, when I said it was his black art and his black magic, it definitely is blackness. So Olam and Shalom and Al, which they say above, is actually Shal. And here we go. I don't know this one as well, but this is what broke it for me when I saw the number 2, because it's Sharon. And this is Sham, or Sam, which is for Semitic. So when they say Jerusalem is going to have its name changed to Hapaziba, which is going to be sacrificial altar to Haba, and that's the only way you're going to have world peace. I mean, here we can see that they've taken the alphabet. They haven't developed anything. They took what was good and turned it upside down and warped the whole thing. And that what is Olam is Shalom, and that it's blackness. I mean, it's just no wonder. And they're the goat people. But it's the whole thing is turned upside down by the dragon men that were the Armenians. It's very interesting when you work with God, when you work with prophecy, and that's why Nostradamus says, I am really going to turn everything you know upside down. In fact, it's so upside down that if you think about, and I only learned this in the summer, late spring of 2019, women had more DNA than men do. I mean, it is completely backwards from everything we've ever learned, or from anything the Greeks and the church would ever teach you, or the Romans, or the Thracians. I mean, it's like what Jesus said, a man will leave his mother and father, will cleave to his wife. It is matrilocal. It's said 4 times in the Bible. They never discuss it. Women have more DNA than men do. They don't discuss that either. There's a whole lot going on there. When they had the king bee being over the temple in Ephesus, there is no such thing as a king bee, it's queen bee. I mean, everything is backwards from these people. It's like nothing that you believe that you know, nothing is real. And that's why we're not working. There you go. So Jerusalem will be renamed. That's it. Because it means blackness. Founded by blackness? Really? Okay. Thank you. It's hard. Oh, wait a minute. One last thing. I've got to give you some information. All right, I'm going to be sending you documents from here. This is really uncomfortable. But as I've mentioned in other areas, June the 28th was a birth date designation for Elon Musk. Let's come out of me. Do you want to fix? No, I don't want to fix it because I'm afraid this future problems when copying files to this device or disk. No, I'm afraid of fixing anything because this is very old. It said 28. This is from my Canadian computer. My documents. my Canadian computer. I should have had my hard drive for my Canadian computer, which had even more information on it, as well as my floppy disk. I do not know where it is. We have a lot of Law Society things that are here, but let's come in and look at the February the 9th. Here we go. Well, first of all, let's open this up. This was the first, 2003. So you'll see me talking about, I'm afraid of the war coming up in 2003, and say, wouldn't it be a good time? Just a thought, wouldn't it be much nicer to have the world diverted from its present threat of war in the Middle East to that of the beginning of the Union of the Americas? I'm not ready for this war, and no one thinks that this is going to be contained. Given that we have to unify at some point, now might be a very good time. Something else to consume the psyche. Is it not time for the Canadians to come of age, be real, let go of our ridiculous barriers, and get going with the age? And what the Canadians did was turn around and try to unify with Europe. Let's come into the 9th. This is uncomfortable. Right, so when you see this, you're going to see the timing and the dates for Elizabeth I. I'm okay with the Magdala part, but Elizabeth I is really hard. But it's in here. So I'll let you, so that you can check this out when it comes out. Yeah. And when I give you pieces of it, and this was always a very difficult thing for me, because as growing up in the Christian church, I just, we didn't come across things like reincarnation, but it's there in the Hebrew, and it's there in Revelations in the Greek, but it's really there in the Hebrew. So when I give you this piece of it, you can check. And actually, I took the class when I was 15. And when I reworked the dates, it comes out the same way. She lived to be 69 and a half. And when I reworked the dates, it still works out. So there you go. It's hard. It's hard when we are talking about things like this, and it's just hard. It's hard doing any of this. It just, you lose everything. This is a letter just letting you know what we were up against in Canada. My daughter's writing. And talking about how she could find where her father was because he took off and abandoned them. Yeah. And New Zealand harbored him. New Zealand, you did. And God knocked you silly. The introduction to that claim to the Law Society. This is really where it began for me when I started outing prophecy, and where the whole case came up against bisexuality, conflict of interest, not supporting women who were being abused, the research that I had done. Yeah. Anyway, it's all there. It is all there. Women were not being supported. Oh, that's an important thing. Women are not being protected. I guess it is November the 20th. It was supposed to be a day of support for women that were experiencing violence in England. And I guess Parliament and the men made it a day of supporting transgender men to women, and did not support women that were experiencing violence against women. Finally, the feminists are beginning to wake up. They said in the last year there's been no transgender man to woman that has experienced death, but there were 100 and some women that were killed in their homes due to domestic violence. So, I mean, this is really what we've come down to, and I've been fighting against this for so long. I mean, this is the Greek way. Remember, the Greeks are diabolical, but this is the Greek way. The Greek and Roman way. It is. With that in mind, I guess I should say good night. Thank you.